Welcome to the LAN Partners Podcast. This is episode 16 this week. I'm your host, Connor. We got Dave with me.
Hello, Rise and Shine.
And we got Matt.
Hey.
So this week we are doing a couple different things. We're going to continue our game of which game came first. We played it a couple weeks ago. There was a tie, 2-2, so we're going to do a couple more rounds of that. We're going to talk about NBA Playgrounds on the Switch. This is our first episode we reviewed. Dave and I actually talked about this game, if you remember talking about that. We gave a little brief review on that. So Matt now owns it, so we definitely want to get all opinions. And there was a big update on this game, so we want to see what it's like now, because it is a big difference. It was a game-changing update that we definitely need to talk about. Our discussion is terrorist hunts in Rainbow Six, how it's evolved, where we want to see it go. Couple news stories we'll get to, and our list for the day is going a little retro. Top 3 weapons in Perfect Dark and Goldeneye games. So we're combining both games because we kind of figured, well, if we do Goldeneye, it's probably going to be these guns. If we do Perfect Dark, it'll be these guns. So let's just do both games in one time. So it's going to be a fun little episode. We are just 3 guys who have full-time jobs, families, and other hobbies who just love to game. What makes this podcast different is that we will, of course, talk about new games, but we will also talk about games that came out 2 or 3 years ago as if they were new. We just want to share our experiences playing these games in case you're in the same spot as us where your gaming time is limited. Please download the podcast by Apple app, Stitcher, Google Play for you Android users, or just go on iTunes and hit subscribe. That way you get our weekly episodes uploaded to you every Wednesday now. Remember, we changed to Wednesdays. The network thought it was a better fit for the fan base out there, so we went to Wednesdays. So if you have questions, discussion topics, or list ideas, please message us on Facebook, send us an email, thelandpartners@gmail.com, or just leave a comment. Check out our LAN Partner Twitch page if you want to get gameplay videos of games that we talk about. We have quite a few up there now, and we continue to just keep stocking up games. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Which game came first? So the way this works is I will ask you guys 2 games, and then
Yes, sir.
you guys will tell me which game you think was released first. So you could think of these pretty easy, or you could get a little tripped up. So I'm just curious. I kind of kept it easy for this week, but I think you might have to double guess it just for a second. So the first 2 games. First game, Super Mario World or Super Mario Kart. So which game was released first?
I'm going to say Super Mario Kart.
All right, Dave, what do you think?
For some reason, I feel like Mario World might have been like the launch title for SNES, so I'm going to go with Super Mario World.
It's good reasoning.
Super Mario World was released November 21st, 1990. Super Mario Kart, August 27th, 1992. So there's about a 2-year gap there. I'm pretty sure Super Mario World was a release title. That's why.
I think it was.
That's why I thought this would be easy, but you could kind of say like, "Oh, Mario Kart, yeah, it's an old game right there."
This happens when you overthink yourself, right there.
So
I doubted myself.
Yeah, you did. You weren't confident. Next 2 games, I'm just curious to see. This one should be easy, but maybe not. Call of Duty Black Ops or Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Which one was released first?
I think I'm going to say Modern Warfare 2.
Okay, so Modern Warfare was
Like Call of Duty 4.
was Infinity Ward.
Right. Correct.
Black Ops is Treyarch.
Yes.
So going backwards, 1, 2. Oh, this one's not easy. You're killing me.
Wasn't because I
played Modern Warfare 3 in my apartment after getting my first job, and I played Black Ops in college. Oh man, this is tough. What did you say, Matt? Did you say?
I said Modern Warfare 2.
I'm gonna go opposite. I'm gonna say Black Ops. Oh.
Yep, Modern Warfare 2 was released in 2009, Black Ops 2010. Dave, you had it with your thought process.
I didn't feel
Wasn't World at War after
Modern
Was
Warfare.
World at War after?
Modern Warfare,
okay.
World at War, and then Modern Warfare 2. Yeah, Dave, I thought you were going to get it because first year
Call of Duty.
First year of teaching would have been 2011, so 2 years removed would have been Modern Warfare 2, so that's 2009. Thought you would have had that. Last one, so we're at another 1-1 tie.
Another
You guys,
oh man,
we need a decisive win right here. All right, last one: GTA 5, Grand Theft Auto 5, or The Last of Us. Which one was released first? Original releases, none of this remastered PS4 releases. Original PS3 releases on these two games.
GTA 5 or The Last of Us.
I've got my answer.
I'm gonna say.
Oh, you want to go first or me?
I'm gonna say Last of Us.
And this works out perfect because I was gonna say GTA 5.
Oh man!
With the win, Matt takes it for the win. Last of Us, June 14th, 2013.
You think that games would get better with time, but obviously
GTA 5, September 17th, 2013. See, the way when I was looking up these games, I'm like Last of Us was that close to GTA? Like, there's no way. Like, because I
don't remember it being so close.
When I played GTA 5, GTA 5 was right at the tail end of the PS3 life cycle, where it was practically a PS4 game, but Last of Us was like I felt like in the meat of the PS3 era. Like, I didn't feel like, oh man, I would rather be playing this on my PS4. Like, I just remember the only option being PS3 for some reason. But I just felt like Last of Us came out so much more before GTA 5 in my head. But obviously it didn't. If it was only a couple months,
just a few months,
yeah, it didn't seem that way. But it's
wow.
GTA 5 came out so close to the PS4 launch that it just felt like a PS4 game.
Yeah,
it should have been just a PS4 game. So so this week Matt actually takes it with the decisive victory.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
2-1. Let's go ahead and get into NBA Playground. So I want to start this off by just Matt kind of talking a little bit about what he thinks of the game. Doesn't have to go through piece by piece of the game. Just tell us what his opinion is, because when Dave and I originally talked about this game, it was pre-update. And you might be thinking, like, why are they talking about this game after a stupid update? Who cares? It was a huge update. It's
a huge update.
It was basically changing the game and making it completely different. And Matt's only played it with the new update. So Matt, just tell us a little bit what you think about this game now.
I really like NBA Playgrounds. It's only $20 on the store, so it's a great pickup, easily worth $20 to me. I don't have many things I don't like about it. I guess most of the things I do like about it is it's just good fun. It's good arcade basketball, kind of the NBA Jam style. Big dunks and getting little special power-ups that you can use to get more points and things like that. I like the idea of unlocking the cards with new players, and each player has their own stats of what they're good and not good at. That leads to my only thing I don't like, and I think you guys have agreed in the past, is that the unlocking is just too. Once you beat the tournaments that they give you, it just takes way too long to unlock more packs of cards. And in a lot of the packs of cards that you do open, you get repeats of players that you already have. So then now, you just lose that, like, oh, I just spent 20 minutes trying to level up so I can get more cards, and I just got the same players back. I didn't get anyone new. But there is that moment where you do get a really cool card, and it feels like it was worth it. That happened to me. I actually beat the last tournament, and I know Dave had talked about wanting to get more of kind of the legendary type players like Iverson or like LeBron James, people like that. And after I beat the last tournament, in my card pack, I opened up LeBron James, texted it to Dave right away to rub it in his face a little bit. But it's complete just random luck. So I just got really lucky, and I unlocked LeBron, who it turns out I don't even really use him that much, but it's just cool to like have him.
It's kind of like, oh, finally, got him.
Right.
So unworthy. Do you hear this? I'm sitting there grinding until my fingers are bleeding. He finishes the tournament and gets him. Come on.
I know, but I really like the game a lot.
What do you think of the shooting mechanics?
So the shooting is, it depends on the characters you use, obviously. So if you have a stat of a character who's like a 9 at 3-point shooting or 2-point shooting, they're going to have a way higher chance of making those types of shots if with the new update now they added a little shot meter. So if you get it into this green zone, or there's part of the zone that's kind of yellowish, and then there's like a red zone where it's like you're just not going to make the shot. If you have someone who's a 9 or a 10 at shooting, really great chance of making your shots, even with like hands in your face. And Connor showed me that the hard way with Devin Booker when he came over and played, because he was draining threes left and right on me. But I know you guys played before the shot meter, and I think I can't remember what you guys were saying about it. Was it a lot harder without the shot meter, or was it was a lot easier?
Much easier to shoot 3-pointers, and
Okay.
I believe one stat line that we joke around about is I chose Kyle Lowry from Toronto, and I buried 15 for 15 from 3-point land, which
Yeah.
was a great stat, by the way.
It was literally like 15 for
Not
15
points.
with Lowry.
And
And
15 actual 3-pointers. I scored 45 points.
Stockton, and like it was ridiculous how easy it was. But the shot meter makes it so much more legit because you feel like you understand what you're doing. Because on the old way, you kind of just hold down the button and then like, oh, I made it, just holding it down
Just
for
release it, yeah.
3/4 of a second. But with the new shot meter, it makes it a legitimate basketball shooting game. What do you think of the dunking, Matt?
It's way too often either it gets blocked or the guy just bounces it off the rim. I know the dunking's huge in terms of getting your little meter up so that you can get your special power-ups. So it is helpful if you do want to play that way. But when me and Connor were playing, do not waste your time on dunking. It was just like a 3-point contest. We were just going back and forth shooting threes because the dunking just, I don't know, even if your player is a high, like I think I was using Spud Webb, who's like a 9 on dunking, and he would go up to dunk and like just brick every time. And I'm like, how is he a 9 at dunking and he can't make a dunk? So it's really kind of annoying. And then I'll segue to like the rebounding is like impossible, especially if you're playing against the AI. Like you cannot get a ball back. They will just kind of magnetize right to wherever the ball is going before you even know where it's going. So it's just really hard. And then I do have to throw one gripe in that I know Dave was upset about. I was also upset about. Connor became like this stealing master, knocking the ball out of my guy's hands like 30 times a game, which is highly frustrating because I don't know. I thought he was cheating. I thought he knew some sort of cheat code that I didn't know. So
Cheat code is pure skill. That's what the cheat code
I know.
is.
I'll give it to Connor. He found a way to just get that ball. But yeah, dunking, I don't know. I don't use it. I would rather just shoot threes.
The thing that drove me crazy, and Dave, you could talk about this too, is the dunking/blocking aspect of that game.
Yeah.
It just, I don't understand it. You play as Shaq, and he misses wide open dunks. He can't block. Stuff like that. It's just like, oh my, this is so frustratingly annoying. So Dave, since the update, what do you think the game has done better?
Since the update, I think the game not necessarily has done better, but it makes it possible to hit layups.
Yeah, that was.
So-
I meant to touch on that.
Finger roll it into the rim.
Oh yeah. Well, prior to the update, that's really what it was. It was you'd go up for a layup and you'd actually get frustrated that it went to a layup animation because you're like, oh, this one's a miss. Like, hope someone's there for the rebound because this is definitely not going in. Whereas after the update, layups and dunks felt a lot more like money in the bank depending on who you were using. But then, to Matt's point, it's never really truly money in the bank because, you got a guy like Paul George who's got, 7s, 8s, and 9s across the board in scoring, and the guy puts up more bricks than, I mean, it's unbelievable. You'd think that he was in construction, not basketball. Is brick after
I was going to say more than a bricklayer.
Oh my gosh, he was. I mean, I wanted to go get the guy some cement. Like it was just unbelievable. But yet he's rated 7, 8, 9. So I don't get that. So I think maybe it's kind of like I heard a story about when NBA Jam, the very first one, came out. If you picked what was it? The Bulls against the Pistons, and the game was close.
Quarter.
Yeah, there's like a fourth quarter like thing. I don't know if everyone's heard of this, where the game is actually programmed to make the Bulls lose because there was a bunch of Pistons fans working on the game and they were kind of rivals. I think this game just doesn't like Paul George because 0% chance he's as bad as
it was something like the Bulls will miss a shot, like they'll brick it.
Correct.
If it's like a buzzer beater or something like that.
Right, like a 99% chance they'll miss the shot.
They'll end up breaking it. That's hilarious. Yeah, so I think that the layups, adding the shot meter makes the layups completely legit. It makes it a real basketball game. Yeah. The shooting meter makes it feel a lot more real. And all this game comes down to, though, and I'm hoping that they can learn from this game and make NBA Playgrounds 2 like a lot better.
Yeah.
Where you're just not playing with 3-point shooters, because with Dirk, the signature shot, I can make a half-court shot with Dirk, no problem, if he gets his signature shot on. And same thing with Larry Bird. Larry Bird has that signature 3 shot. He's automatic with that thing, and you can't stop it. So I think they got to create more of a two-dimensional playing system where you're not just looking for that open 3.
Well, I think it's worth noting, too, that when you hit that special spot, like when Dirk shoots a regular 3, his green area is the normal size that it should be for someone who has his rating. But when you do his special, it widens that green area. It actually like makes your possibility of hitting even bigger. So when Connor says he was like draining half-court shots, it's because literally it was hard for him to miss the green when he was trying to shoot that shot. It was crazy. If I didn't block it, it was in.
Dave, am I wrong in saying Dirk is the best player in that game?
No comment. Let's move on.
No comment.
No, he's with his height.
He's the best player in that.
With his height and that signature shot, he's the best player in the game.
I just have bad memories.
No one can stuff him because he's 7 feet tall. He has a signature shot, so if he gets his feet planted, it's money. He's the best character because threes. If you hit a 4-point shot with a 3, you can't stop him. He's too tall to be blocked and just too good to be stopped.
Just too good.
It's definitely the closest I've come to breaking a Joy-Con so far.
We saw the durability.
And yeah, we were about to test the durability of Nintendo's controllers if Connor hit one more half-court 3 on me.
Joy-Cons made it. They made it out.
They survived.
So is there anything else?
The game has great potential. So yeah, I think in the future, if they make a sequel or something, they can easily make it like a really, really great arcade basketball game.
Yeah, I like where they're at right now. It's a good starting point.
They're onto something. Yeah,
they definitely have a lot of work to do, and I'm excited though to see where it goes because it is a good game. It's a lot of fun. It's one of those games where I was at Dave's house, and probably over that weekend that I was at your house, Dave, I played easily over 30 games. Just like I didn't even want to. I'm just like, all right, let's play something else. Hold on. Let me play like 18 more games. Like, it's a fun game. It is a lot of fun. It does. All right, so let's move on to talk about a little bit about Rainbow Six. Now that we covered NBA Playgrounds, and we want to talk about our discussion topic is terrorist hunts specifically. So the history of it and what it is at currently. So terrorist hunt, if you don't know, it's a mode in Rainbow Six games, like Rainbow Six Vegas was the first Rainbow Six game to do it, and that came out in 2006. So what the terrorist hunt is basically you could play as yourself or you could play with co-op where you basically just go into a level and it will have a little ticker and it will say 45 terrorists or 50 terrorists, 30 terrorists, however many terrorists are in that level, and you have to just go through and you can't die one time. You have to go through without dying and kill every single one of these terrorists. It's a ton of fun. So in the original terrorist hunt, Rainbow Six 2006 edition, this is Rainbow Six Vegas. It was basically just the way I described it. It was pretty bare minimum. You had a lot of different levels, but you basically were just given, pick your equipment, load out, go into this level, and do what you can. And that's basically how it was. But then in Rainbow Six Vegas 2, that was released in 2008, Dave, was there anything added in compared to Rainbow Six Vegas that made Vegas 2 a lot better, or was it more of the same? Because I don't think I even owned Vegas 2.
Yeah. So 2, the only reason 2 is different is because you got to customize your character a little bit. You got to put, heavier armor. Your player moves slower, but you have more defense. And then a lighter armor, you had a little bit more dexterity, but you didn't take quite as many shots. Number 2 had a lot of the levels from number 1 that kind of made a comeback because they brought some of the most popular maps back, and they also added a couple interesting levels. But like you're saying, I mean, they didn't really rock the formula too much because it was a very successful formula from the first one. People gave excellent feedback to them with the first terrorist hunt, and honestly, it ended up becoming the only mode I played in Rainbow Six. And then, I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I probably played Rainbow Six Vegas 99% terrorist hunt, and then I might have beaten the story, and if I do, I don't remember. And I know I played online like once, but like R6 just became legit. They might as well just rename it Tarot Hunt because Rainbow Tarot Hunt, because that's what I was all about.
That's what I was all about too. When I played Vegas, I did play the campaign. I didn't beat it because I still remember the moment that I got stuck on. I was in like these tunnels, but I never finished the game because I got stuck on it. But Terror Hunt was where it was at for sure. And the funny thing about Rainbow Six Vegas, the terrorist hunts, is it resembles the Nintendo 64 Rainbow Six a lot. If you go back and play that game, it's basically you just go through a level, kill all the enemies, and then there's maybe a hostage at the end. And then you say it's basically a terrorist hunt for Nintendo 64. So I think they took this idea like, oh, the Nintendo 64 one was so much fun. Let's take that formula and make it like a side mode. And that's where it comes in now. Matt, before we move on to the current Rainbow Six terrorist hunt, do you have any experiences with these old games?
I played the N64 Rainbow Six. I know, like you were saying, it wasn't exactly Terror Hunt, but it's very similar. It kind of set the foundation, I think. But I remember playing that one, and the thing that caught my attention just was the fact of, this is kind of a very realistic type game, which I think we weren't used to at that time. It was, you had to wait to reload or wait to open a door, and there was a little wheel that spun showing you how much time was left before you opened a door or reloaded your gun or changed your gun and things like that. So you actually had that kind of added pressure of, okay, I actually have to like wait for my guy to grab his gun and pull it out. And then, if you get shot once or twice, you're pretty much, that's it. That's game over right there. So it was like that added pressure of, okay, I really have to be patient and kind of sneak around. I know me and you played Vegas a little bit together. I didn't play it a whole lot because I don't think I ever owned Vegas. I'm not sure. I don't really remember, but I know we played Vegas a little bit. Vegas 2, I don't think I played at all. And then, like you said, we're going to get into Siege, and we got to play Siege a little bit together too, but not too much. I don't think I have as much experience with it as you guys do.
Okay, so that's where Rainbow Six Terrorist Hunt was at. That just go through the levels, kill all the enemies, and it was tons of fun. Like, amazing fun. Like Dave was saying, a lot of fun playing all those types of game modes. So Dave, tell us a little bit about where is Siege at with Terrorist Hunt now? What has changed throughout these years?
So Rainbow Six kind of took like a little hiatus after Vegas 2. Vegas 2 was released on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Took a little bit of a break there, and then Siege was released here in our current gen. And really, just the game itself, the way that the game is played in general, has evolved to something almost completely different than it used to be. For example, one of the biggest things that you had to do in Rainbow Six games past is lean up against walls, and it would cut to a third-person camera, and you would kind of like peek around corners and things like that. That is now completely taken away in lieu of the lean feature that keeps you locked in first person in the new game. So, no, you can't go back to wall and, look like James Bond and whatever, but you do have kind of like the conformity of staying in first person instead of having the camera jump around between different forms. The way that impacts Tarot Hunt is actually a lot more dramatic than you would think. It changes the feel of it significantly. I have in my notes here when I was thinking about it throughout the week that I think the word I'm looking for, and this might not be fair to it, but I'm going to use it anyway, is the new one feels a little more like arcade game when it comes to Terrorist Hunt, whereas the old one might have felt more like, and by no means am I saying that it was a simulation of hunting terrorists. That would be disrespectful to people who actually do that, but it felt more of like a whereas the old Terrorist Hunt might have been more of a like classic Tom Clancy, the newer Rainbow Six feels closer to like a Counter-Strike or a like Call of Duty almost, with like the abilities that you have, the way the way in which you move,
right.
the gun firing, down to like the weapon skins. They added new skins in that make it feel like that. And the biggest thing they changed is the new modes. And kind of refresh my memory, how many of these modes did we try when you came over?
See, that's the thing. I didn't like the modes at all besides just the classic Terrorist Hunt. There was on Siege, there was like the bomb one where you have to defend like the bomb, which is basically impossible. It's
literally impossible.
It's so hard. It's not even enjoyable because it's so difficult. Where you basically there's two bombs I think in the two locations I think you have to go to.
You have to find them.
Yeah,
right.
You have to find them, and then what happens is you set a bomb or you have to detonate a bomb. There's some sort of bomb situation, and then there's like a time limit where you'll have to sit there for 1 minute and 30 seconds or 2 minutes and 30 seconds where just enemies just swarm you through the windows, through the doors, just constant. And
shooting through walls.
You can know exactly where they're coming from, and then you'll get shot from an area you never got shot before. And it was just so frustrating. It was not enjoyable. That mode was just way overpowered, and I doubt we ever beat it.
No, definitely not.
Then there was that mode, and I'm sure there was a hostage capture mode.
The hostage was a good one. I like that.
Yeah, hostage was okay.
I actually, my buddy Mike and I were playing Rainbow Six not too long ago, and we did the hostage mode, and it's a fair challenge. But if you imagine bomb mode, where the bomb's just kind of sitting there, hostage mode, once you get that hostage, like the terrorists still start to like come and swarm you, but you have the ability to grab that guy and just run. So that's kind of like the difference. Hostage is beatable because we beat it. Whereas like Connor was saying, you are literally a sitting duck. Like, there's only so many angles you can cover with your weapon. Even with just two people, we got destroyed with two people.
We were even all three of us, and we still got completely wrecked.
Yeah, that's
we
true.
said like, oh, you cover that window, I'll cover this window, you cover the doorway. And then at some point they shoot through the walls, and then you're like, well, I can't cover 3 open spaces here. And once one person goes down, it's just a domino effect.
Overrun.
It's too much. They have to nerf that or something. They got to fix that up.
They also had a weird mode where you would just straight up defend. It was kind of like a horde mode, except it was basically like where you go and defuse the bombs and they come after you, except you never actually have to go find them. You just start next to them. And that one is also fairly impossible. You know, and it's possible that we're just really bad at the game, and I get that. But I don't think we're like,
not that bad, though.
I was going to say, I'd like to think that we're really not that bad. I would consider us average at worst when it comes to first-person shooter type stuff. And I would say that we're no slouches when it comes to the strategy of like horde mode or that, which we've all come close to getting through all, 50 or however many, levels of that there are. And that's a very difficult mode. So
we shouldn't have to be professional Rainbow Six Siege players in order to beat a simple terrorist
just to get past it, right?
You know what I mean? Like, we shouldn't have to be like, all right, I'm on hour 100. Here we go, attempt 45.
This is it. Forward. Attempt 45. I feel it.
This is it. And it shouldn't be like that. So, is there anything that you guys want from a future Rainbow Six Terror Hunt mode that you think would be like, okay, like this is legit now?
I think a big one, which is always something that can just always be improved, is just the AI in general, I think. Because a lot of times when we played, Siege does a relatively good job, but I think there was a lot of times where you would get in a room and they would just throw like 5 guys in that one room, and then you would just clear it out really quick, or they would do something strange to kind of tell you where they are. and then like we said in those modes where it's like, once you get to a certain point, all of a sudden they just have like 20 dudes swarm you, and it just, I don't know, like all of a sudden they know where you are. And I think that's something they can always improve, just to make it more of a challenge or make it more interesting, is, have guys that are working different strategies or different ways to respond to you and what you're doing. I know a lot of times too, like you'd shoot out a whole room of people. Obviously in real life, someone next door would hear that, but then you would like run past the room and there would be a guy just kind of standing in there, just like hanging out, so like
shield, yeah.
Right. So it's things like that can always be improved.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned what they say, because I remember in Rainbow Six Vegas, you'd kill a guy and then you'd hear one of the other enemies say like, "Oh man, he owed me money." But he would call him something else that I can't say on air here. But yeah, it'd just be funny hearing the banter between them.
Right. Just a little humor.
Yeah. So Dave, what would you look for in a Rainbow Six going forward that you think would make it a lot better?
I'm kind of maybe it's just because I played so much more Terror Hunt in the past. I know that they have the classic mode where it makes it like the old one where it's just a countdown, but this is going to maybe be an unpopular comment, but I would kind of like the game to go backwards in time a little bit to give me more of a Rainbow Six Vegas 2 feel, which I think was the sweet spot of Terror Hunts. And I would like it to include some of the new things. Again, here's another unpopular thing, but I did like the addition of boomers, which I like to call them, which are the gas mask guys that have the, suicide bombs attached to them. I thought that added an element of, fun to the game that, doesn't get replicated in the first one. I would love for them to add couch co-op back to Terror Hunt, because it really drives me bananas that if I want to play Terror Hunt with my friends, I have to tell them to go home. So
right.
That irritates me a little bit, and I hope that gets added back in. And then, like Connor was saying, just kind of refine those bomb defusal modes, because there's potential there. I did get really excited that there was different modes to do in Terror Hunt, but I now find myself clicking classic mode more so than anything. Really, I have my set list. Actually, the only ones I can actually see are hostage and classic, because those are the only ones that, we can beat without feeling like we are at a disadvantage. So
yeah, and I think you're hitting right where it should be. Those are all the areas that they need to work on. But one thing that we didn't mention was on the Rainbow Six Siege. Dave, you'll have to fill me in on this because I don't quite remember. On Rainbow Six Siege, for the classic Terror Hunt, isn't the mount only like 20 terrorists in the whole level because of the boomers, as you call them, like the heavier enemies? I don't remember it being in the 40s, and that's what I want to see.
No, it's definitely not in some.
I want to see Terrorist Hunt back in the 40 amount of enemies. Like, that's what I want. I want to see just that intense moment where you're like, oh, man, I'm down to 20 only. Like, oh, this is getting crazy. Like, I'm low on ammo. Like, just that intensity. I don't feel it with only 20 enemies to kill. Like, once you kill 10, you're like, oh, I only got 10 more left. I could easily just camp here for 5 minutes, hope I pick off a few guys. Where if you're at 45 to start, you got a lot of work to do. Like just camping in 2 spots is not going to be enough. You have to strategically move around the map, know where the enemies are going to be, and that's what I want to see. I want to see the high amount of enemies. And Dave, is there high amounts of enemies in the Siege?
I want to say that it changes slightly when you change the difficulty level. I'm pretty much locked on hard mode now, like forevermore. But I remember, I think in the old games, you actually get to choose. It would actually show you the number, if I'm not mistaken, and you could actually pick how many terrorists are going to show up on that map. Or it might even say like low, medium, and high density. And it doesn't even give you that option in the new game. It just has difficulty levels. And for someone like, who's just picking up the game, who wants to just throw a whole mess of terrorists on a map, but not necessarily kick the difficulty up to realistic mode, that option's not there. So I agree. It's one of those things where you're like, how hard would it really have been for them to add that level of customization into a game that doesn't even have a full campaign? Can we talk about that for a millisecond? The fact that we're complaining about missing features on a multiplayer when it's the only mode available.
Yeah.
So... Not to mention the servers didn't work. I mean, we could turn this into something it shouldn't be here, but I think that's important to note that they had a whole lot of resources that they could have used to make Terror Hunt even better than it was, and it was not. So
I completely agree with you. I think that if they're gonna not give you that single player campaign, they need to make sure every feature of that game is completely tightened up, ready to go. Servers, no issues, so Dave can play his gold edition without it in the first day that he gets it, rather than have to wait 2 weeks.
First day in the first month.
So
I mean, it's like no respect to the consumer.
I mean, that's Ubisoft. It's hard to put all that on just the Rainbow Six, but that's a lot of Ubisoft issues. But yeah, I think Terror Hunt is a great mode, and I like to see the evolution, and I want to see where it goes in the future. And I think Horde mode is another one that we'll do on this podcast, is talk about the evolution of Horde mode, because that is a changing mode that has been very similar to Terrorist Hunt, where it has changed a lot throughout the years. And I think it's growing into something big, and if it wasn't already. So we'll definitely talk about Horde mode in the future. So let's get down to some news. A couple quick news stories. Big releases coming out. So the Xbox One X pre-orders are now in place. And Dave, in a brief statement, do you want to share your Xbox One X pre-order story in a quick summary without the emotion?
I got one. Woo! Okay, no, seriously though, it went on sale digitally first, and by first I mean it really didn't, but I called GameStop beforehand, and they threw some shade at me by telling me that I wasn't important enough to come get one the day of. They actually didn't use those words, but they told me that it wasn't going to be available till the next day. And so I ordered one from Amazon like the second it was announced, right before Gamescom there. And then I ended up going back to getting mine from GameStop because I had credit left over, and that's where I actually wanted to buy it for the first time from. So I actually ended up with two instead of one, and I may be canceling that first one now because, I mean, it's just another $500 that is kind of tied up in something that I now have from somewhere else for less. But I know I offered it to Matt here since he got rid of his Xbox One, but he's still under the Sony spell, so he doesn't need it.
I know a guy who buys multiple Xboxes also, so it's not a big deal. Yeah, so hopefully Matt will turn it around and go ahead and just take that off your hands. Right, Matt?
It's there for him for like another week before I cancel this thing.
Right,
Stay tuned.
The last news story is SNES Classics obviously went on pre-order. If you're listening to this on a Wednesday, it happened late Monday night or early Tuesday morning, and of course without warning, go on pre-order, and then boom, they're gone. Just within
so much
seconds.
Frustration.
And
then the fact that Best Buy was the first major retailer to start their pre-orders, and pre-orders, you would think, like a normal person, it'd be during the daytime, when you can actually see one. Nope, they put them on at 1 a.m. our time, when no one's awake, or anyone that has a normal work life is not awake. And I just don't understand. I don't know if Best Buy is the one who decides that, or if Nintendo's the one telling them to do that. I'm going to assume maybe it's Nintendo giving them the instructions on that one, which is terrible. It's super frustrating because I can't just sit by a computer waiting and just clicking refresh over and over again, waiting for this thing to pop up. And then, like you said, Connor, of course, as soon as it goes on pre-order everywhere else, it's sold out within minutes. And now we're just stuck waiting for the next wave to come through again.
And it just comes down to Nintendo just not, and I've said this theory many times before, they're either scared of success or they're scared of failure, and I still can't decide what they're doing. I just don't get it. They're scared of success because they don't want all the attention or something. I don't know. I don't know what they're scared of. I just don't get it. And then they're scared of failure because they don't want to make 10 million of these units available and then no one buy them. But they are. I just don't get it. It's so frustrating. Let's not get too deep into the SNES Classic. I'm sure there'll be coming developments once that thing. We'll see what the launch is like, and that's set to launch in September. So that we'll stay tuned on that one. So let's go ahead and wrap up episode 16 of LAN Partners Podcast with our list for the day, and that again is the top 3 weapons in both Perfect Dark and Goldeneye. We've combined those both N64 Classic games. N64 Classic. That's another topic that. Didn't mean to say that. So let's go ahead. And I think it's funny that we kind of talked about this, and we thought that, our list will be very similar. And as I was going through my list, there were a lot of guns, and I'm like, that's a great gun. That's a great gun. So I think most of our lists will be kind of similar, but I'm a little curious to see how similar they actually are, because I think there's going to be one gun on my list that neither one of you will have. So let's start it off. Dave, what is your number 3 weapon from those 2 games?
My number 3 is the hollow sniper gun from Perfect Dark. And it was the only sniper that I might still be the only sniper I can think of that allowed you to look through walls, which I thought was really cool. The Far Sight, the heat-seeking hollow sniper.
Yeah, sweet gun.
Yeah, once you got your hands on that thing, man, it was pretty much game over, especially against bots.
That did not make my list, but it was on deck. The only reason it didn't make my list is because I was not very good with it. Like, I felt like I was looking through walls, and then all of a sudden there would be like just a giant figure right in front of me, and I'd be dead. So I didn't really use it a whole lot. But my number 3 is the golden gun from Goldeneye, obviously. Yep. Matt, what is your number 3?
My number 3, so I'm going to start by saying I did not play Perfect Dark a whole lot. I did play it, but not a whole lot. I never owned it. But I played enough. My number 3 is the laptop gun. The iconic, you could throw it down as a turret. You can use it as kind of like a submachine gun. And it was just overall a great gun. And that was something really cool, like a cool feature that I had never seen in a game, to be able to have kind of like a dual function from your gun. So
yeah, Perfect Dark did a lot of cool, like the Far Sight, the laptop gun.
It's
pretty creative. I mean, the Sims, like having all the different kind of Sims.
Yeah.
Like that game was next level. Dave, what is your number 2 weapon?
My number 2 is the laptop gun from Perfect Dark, and the standout for that gun for me was being able to huck it onto a wall above your head and just sit there and smile while it mowed down your opponents as they turn the corner without you having to lift a trigger finger.
Yep, my number 2 is also the laptop gun. I knew that was going to happen, so I figured that would happen. I liked that gun because it made me feel like I was very good at that game because it killed all the computers for me. So what are we on, Matt? Your number 2?
2. My number 2 is the P90 from Goldeneye. It was
the RCP90.
It's like super rapid fire, like submachine gun. I just felt like that gun, you could kind of like hear it. If you were playing GoldenEye split screen, you would hear that someone picked it up, right? And you're like, I got to stay away from whoever has that. So, yeah, it was a cool, like, intimidating gun.
So, Dave, what is your number 1 weapon?
Honorable mentions: laser from GoldenEye. I had the RCP-90 from GoldenEye. And I had maybe my favorite, I know it's not a gun, but proximity mines.
Oh, we're amazing. Yes.
My friends and I would have a complete, you're only allowed to use proximity mine fests.
I used to do that too.
We would just be whipping them all over the place and blowing stuff up. My number 1, and I think if it's not on your list, you probably are uninvited to the podcast again. Connor's already mentioned it, so he's safe. The Golden Gun had its own mode. It's the gun. Like, people still joke about the Golden Gun, even in modern shooters who haven't even ever played GoldenEye. So I'm gonna go with the Golden Gun.
My number 1 weapon is the Mauler from Perfect Dark. I loved this. If you dual wield the Mauler, I don't know if you remember, but you can have a power up on that, or not a power up, but like a power setting where it turns red. And if you have dual wield, it's basically a shotgun. It will kill them on a shot. It was awesome. If I got my hands on 2 of those bad boys, game over, because I just ran around just shotgunning, mowing people down. And then if you weren't close to somebody, you could just turn it into a normal gun. It was awesome. I love the Mauler. So, Matt, what was your number 1?
I'm safe. My number 1 is the Golden Gun.
Yeah.
I was talking to Connor even before we started this podcast. Just the way you had to get it in the campaign. I remember in the temple you had to follow that little strict path on the floor tiles, or else the gun would go away and you'd get shot from a million directions. And then in multiplayer, I mean, a lot of times we would say like no golden guns allowed, because we kind of thought it was kind of cheap. But like
no odd job, no golden gun.
Right? Yeah. If someone grabbed that golden gun, I mean, it was just game over. It was just like run for the hills.
The odd job.
So one of the greatest guns.
All right, well, that was episode 16. Please get on our Facebook. Tell us what you think of the weapons. Maybe there was a weapon we forgot to mention. I feel like we hit all of them, though. So if there's a weapon that you really like that we didn't talk about, please let us know. Tell us what you think. Also, tell a friend about the podcast. Tell them how great we are. Listen to us. And thank you for listening. See you next week.